How are you feeling now that the case is drawing to a conclusion then?
I'm feeling relieved for the girls that they don't have to give their evidence and live through their ordeal again, although they'd be very, very prepared to do so because they're incredibly brave. I'm very, very relieved. I'm very, very pleased that the investigation has proved to have gained so much evidence that it's forced Bryant to go guilty.
Just sum up this case for people that aren't aware of it.
Back in November last year, there was a 16-year-old girl abducted from Bracknell. She was taken to a remote location where she was sexually assaulted. She feared for her life. There were various threats made against her life, but she managed to persuade the offender to let her go, which he did, took her back to Bracknell. We didn't hear from him again. He didn't offend again for quite some time. We made strenuous efforts to try and locate him in that interim period. Unfortunately, he struck again in May when he attacked, firstly, a girl who he'd followed into her home address, gained access to the address, and abducted her, tried to get her towards a car, we believe, but she was able to escape. But later that evening, he abducted a third girl, again from Bracknell, took her to a remote location, which we now know was the same location, subjected her to, again, I'm afraid, a horrific sexual assault. Again, he was persuaded to let her go, not before he threatened her with a firearm, unfortunately. But she managed to persuade him to let her go. She returned home and raised the alarm with the police. So we very quickly identified that we had a number of linked offences, and from that moment on we obviously made a number of appeals for assistance with the public to try and locate this man who was responsible for the offences and also where he lived.
The case seemed to move pretty quickly because we followed it kind of all the way through. Did it feel like that at the time? Were you confident that you were going to catch this man?
I can assure you it didn't move quickly for us. It was a very, very long month or so when we were intensely looking at the investigation. Let's not forgetting that it began back in November as well. But obviously after the second and third attacks, we were really, really concerned that he would strike again. My fear was that he would strike again. I was always confident that we would catch him. I'm grateful and pleased that we did catch him prior to him offending again.
Just describe him for us.
Terry Bryant, there is nothing in his background to suggest he's capable of such offences. He's never been in trouble for anything sexual related before, so he was not known to the police for any of these sort of offences. So there was a bit of a surprise when we identified him, arrested him, and ultimately collated the evidence because, again, there was nothing to suggest he was capable of such offences.
And, I mean, you seem to link the cases pretty quickly. Were there any key factors that did this?
It originated really from what the girls told us. Their detail was incredible and has transpired to be absolutely correct. There were a number of issues in terms of the location, the fact they were taken into cars, the length of time that it was to go to wherever he took them to, the fact that it was slightly off-road, and also the grey beanie that they frequently referred to. There was also a number of characteristics and terminologies that the offender used that again led us to believe that they were all connected.
How important is it for you that you got a guilty plea from this case?
I think it's testament to the evidence that we collated. Very, very pleased. What I would say is that the girls were quite happy to give evidence, which is testament to their bravery, really. But I'm really pleased they don't have to relive that ordeal. I
know that you've mentioned about the fact that there could possibly be other victims. What would your message to people hearing about this case be?
There's nothing to suggest there are other victims and there haven't been further attacks. But if there have been anyone else who could be a victim of such an offence, they think Bryant could be their offender, I'd appeal for them to contact us because Bryant should face the full force of the law for any offences that he's committed.
And what about your message to the people of Bracknell, because this is a rare offence, isn't it?
It is. It's a bit of reassurance in terms of it is so rare, these type of offences. Also a vote of thanks because their response has been absolutely fantastic. They've been very supportive, endless phone calls to us, really tried to assist the investigation, and I'm very, very grateful to all the assistance that they provided.